The forgotten legacy of the BMW E28 535i and M535i, the evolution of BMW's motorsport, E12 M535i to E28 M535i. In 1980, BMW Motorsport developed and launched the E12 M535i. This was a 528i but with the running gear from the original full-fat 635 CSI. The 218 brake horsepower 3,453 cubic centimeter engine, close ratio Getrag gearbox with its distinctive dogleg gearshift pattern, limited slip diff with the extra oil tank, Bilstein dampers with tougher springs and sway bars all went in, as well as 14-inch Moly lattice alloy wheels with 205-section tires, an M1 style steering wheel, Recaro Shield-type front seats, and spoilers front and rear. Between April 1980 and May 1981, when E12 production ended, 960 left-hand drive cars and 450 right-hand drive ones were built. Comparing the Euro and US spec BMW E28 535i models. The 535i range arrived in Europe with a bang in January 1985 and in the USA a month later. We'll come to that later. The recipe was as before for the Euro 535i, with a plain 535i version, renamed 535i SE in 1986, and an M535ii with plastic sills and bumpers. Mechanically, the 528i's 184 bhp LE Getronic engine was replaced by the 3430cc Motronic 1.1 unit from the contemporary 635 CSI with 218 bhp. Unlike the E12, though, a choice of transmissions was offered. Transmission and performance, the heart of the E28 535i. The standard unit was the overdrive Getrag 265/6-box, with its 0.81 overdriven fifth gear allied to a 3.07 ratio limited slip differential with a 25% lockup, although a 3.25 ratio could be had. Those wanting more acceleration in the upper reaches could order the Getrag 265/5-sport transmission, whose ratios were closer, with a direct drive 1:1 fifth gear and the 3.25 ratio LSD. Lastly, you could have a 4-speed ZF automatic with the switchable EH Sport economy electronics to alter the shift speeds and lock out top gear. That's okay if you like that sort of thing, but really, the manual box is what you wanted. Both differentials were of the Type 210 variety, big heavy things derived from the E23 735i, and cars bound for Australia used a 3.46 ratio diff of the smaller Type 188 kind. I bet they went well. Suspension and handling, a white-knuckle ride. The 535 in suspension was already in production and used in the M-Technic package for the 528i. This included Bilstein dampers, shorter, stiffer springs, and slightly thicker sway bars. It was very good, and certainly tightened up the E28, but it wasn't cut from the same cloth as Alpina stuff. Nor was it as good as the special suspension BMW Motorsport had developed for the M5. Those cars used even thicker sway bars but softer dampers by Bilstein and later Bogue, and were far better suited to the Michelin TRX tires being used at that point. By 1986, the M5 had dumped the Michelins and swapped over to far more forgiving Pirellis on a 16-inch wheel. Why the E28 535i remains a beloved classic today. In Europe, the 535i was a success. BMW talked in 1985 about building 5,000 a year, and they probably did. Changes were few, and the last example built in December 1987 was much the same as the first cars. The E3455i marked a new era for BMW, and it was undoubtedly a better all-rounder if heavier and a bit slower. Yet, as good as they are, they don't have quite the raw appeal of the E28 version, a white-knuckle ride that will now cost you about the same in pounds or dollars as it did around 40 years ago.